Once upon a time, there was a king. And he was a good king. I mean, everybody loved him. He loved them. And this king always had a smile on his face. But just because you're smiling doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. Now, does it? And this king wasn't happy inside at all. Although the smile purported to tell the world that he was a happy man and a happy king, he was miserable. Miserable to the core. Reason? Simple. He had a secret. I mean, have you had a secret before? We've all had secrets, haven't we? Secrets are everywhere. We're surrounded by secrets. And the king's secret was so huge and heavy that it weighed him down and made him the tragic king with a smile on his face. I expect you're wondering what his secret is. You'd like to know? Then I'll tell you. But remember, a secret told is no longer a secret. So by telling you, the secret will be out. This king woke up one morning, he looked in the mirror and something had changed. Something was different about him. Hugely different. Transformational. He looked at his face and there on his head, instead of his own ears, he had sprouted overnight a pair of horse's ears. Yes, he was the king with horse's ears. I can't go out like this, said the king. I mean, the whole world will point and laugh, and that won't do for a king, now will it? I must hide them away. They must never be seen. No one must know. No one in the whole wide world must ever know that I have got horse's ears on my head. What am I going to do? He took his time, he took a breath, and there, in his chamber, in his wardrobe, hanging on its own stand, a beautiful red silk scarf. He'd never used it for any occasion. He'd often wondered, what a beautiful thing, and what am I going to use it for? But now was the time to use the scarf. Into the wardrobe he went. Out came the scarf, beautiful cloth. And there, in front of the mirror, he tied the scarf onto his head, flattening back the ears. He put the crown on his head, and for all intents and purposes, there he was, a king with a crown and a scarf on his head, but no sign of the horse's ears. And people would wonder, what's he wearing a scarf on his head for? He looks like a pirate. But people wouldn't question. I mean, you wouldn't question a king, would you? It wouldn't be your place. I mean, after all, a king is a king, and a king can do absolutely anything they want. And so, the king went about his business with the scarf on his head, and nobody in the whole wide world apart from him knew about the ears. Except one day, the king revealed his secret to an unsuspecting person. In the town, on his doormat, a man received a letter. Oh! It's a letter from the palace. And sure enough, there was the king's stamp. Ha! What? Have you ever received a letter from royalty? It's exciting. It's an invitation to come and see the king. He wants me to bring the tools I need to do my job. And I must come right away. Huge excitement. The man rushed about gathering all he needed to do his job. Into the bag he put his tools. He was ready to go. And he made his way outside the door into the town, past all his friends and associates and colleagues, the people who knew, the people he had grown up with. He passed a small time of day with them and waved, and made his way to the palace on the hill. And there were the gates with the guards, and the guards parted their spears to let him through. And he found himself in the palace, and it was empty of people. And he made his way up the corridor to the great double doors that opened by themselves, and into the throne room he came. And there was the throne, obscured by a huge oval mirror on wheels. Just beneath the mirror he could see a pair of legs sitting. Royal legs, kingly legs. He knew that he and the king were alone. And he approached, peered behind the mirror, and there was the king, sitting on the throne, waiting patiently. And the man bowed and opened his bag, and out came a towel, out came a comb, and out came a pair of golden scissors. Yes, he was a barber, a hairdresser, a stylist, and today, by royal appointment, he was here to cut the king's hair. Your Majesty. Off came the crown, and placed on a royal cushion. He undid the red silk scarf from on top of the king's head, and placed that next to it too, and whoop, whoop. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how he looked when he saw the ears? Yes, I know, said the king. I've got horse's ears. And they're my ears, and they're real. And on top of that, they're my secret. And now, dear hairdresser, they're your secret too. And if I was to hear that you've told anybody else my secret, it will be the worse for you. The hairdresser knew how to keep a secret. The hairdresser was a party to many secrets in his career. Yes, people talk in the barber's chair, and the king would be no different. These ears were his secret, and the hairdresser would keep it close to his heart. And I promise, never to tell a living soul. And with that, the hairdresser began cutting the king's hair, chatting about this, chit-chatting about that, and sure enough, before long, the hair was finished. It looked wonderful. He'd styled it especially to suit the ears, but sadly he realized it was time to put the scarf back on the head. Nobody would see the king's hair. Nobody would see the beautiful work of the barber. Back went the crown. He bowed, he collected his things, and he went home, and he tried to think no more of it. But by the time he reached home and sat down in his favorite chair, the hairdresser felt heavy and sad. Heavy because he was filled from head to toe with a great secret, the king's secret. He held on to the secret for many, many days. And deep down inside him, in the pit of his stomach, where he kept the secret safe, for secrets tend to like to jump out and onto the tip of your tongue, and you might be having a chat with your best friend or someone you've just met, and you're chit-chat, whoop! And the secret almost comes out, and you have to stop it and swallow it back down again, back into your tummy, where it's deep down and dark, where you can keep it safe. But in his stomach, the secret grew and grew and got heavier and heavier by day. And one day he woke up, the hairdresser, and there was a pain in his gut. Oh, it's so bad. I think I'm going to go and have to see a doctor. So he went to go and see a doctor, and the doctor said, Come in. Sit yourself down. I'll be right there. What is it you say? A tummy ache. Well, I'll do my checks. And the doctor did all the checks. Checked his temperature, his pulse. He asked all the right questions. But could he find anything? There's nothing wrong with you, said the doctor, that I can find. Unless. Please, doctor, help. It hurts. Please help me. I've definitely got a pain in the stomach. I'll think, said the doctor. And so he did. He thought and thought and thought through all the possibilities, and then it occurred to him, ha ha ha, I know what's wrong with you. I know what's wrong with you. You've got a secret. Yes, I have. And my secret is... Shh. Don't tell me your secret, said the doctor. I don't want to know. But I'll tell you what you must do. You must leave the town early in the morning when nobody's awake. You must go into the woods, find a nice quiet spot, dig a hole, and tell your secret to the hole. Fill in the hole before the secret jumps out, and then you will have told your secret. Yet you will have told no one. Not a living soul will know. And you will be cured, my friend. Oh, thank you so much, doctor, said the hairdresser, and he made his way home, excited, still in pain. But the next morning he woke up really early, before even the birds had begun singing. And he left his home with a little spade to dig with, which he hid underneath his clothes, and he made his way into the woods, where he found a nice quiet spot. And there, next to a pond, and a log, and some reeds growing, he could hear the rustling of the leaves around him, and an owl returning home after a night of hunting. This was the place. And he began to dig a hole. And once the hole had been dug, he put his lips to the hole, and the king's got horse's ears. That felt good. He went back to the hole and he said, the king's got horse's ears. And then finally, just to make sure the secret was out, he sang into the hole, the king's got horse's ears. And then he filled the hole in as quickly as can be before the secret jumped out. And he made his way home, flopped in his favourite chair, and he thought no more of it. But the secret in the woods in the hole was no different to any other secret. And there in the ground it festered and moaned and complained, for a secret likes to be told. In fact, that's its sole purpose. Secrets must be told. I must be told. I'm trapped underground. How am I going to get out? I want to be told, said the secret. And in the ground, over many days, the secret turned into something that could emerge from the ground. And he changed and transformed into a seed that grew from the ground. It grew roots and shoots, and soon, up into the sun it grew, into a clump of reeds, matching those by the pond. And the reeds rustled and whispered in the breeze, much as secrets are whispered from person to person and place to place. The secret reeds, rustling in the breeze, waiting, waiting, waiting. Who should be coming through the woods the very next day? You'll never guess. The finest flute player in the land. He was on his way to see the king, for the king was celebrating his birthday, as he did every year, and everyone was invited. It's the king's birthday. We'll dress up. We'll go to the palace. We'll have food and drink and be merry. This is one of the greatest days of the year. And of course, the finest flute player in the land was invited to play, for a party isn't a party without music. Well, the flute player was making good time through the woods. He found a nice quiet spot and had a rest next to a pond and clumps of reeds, whispering and rustling in the breeze. And he thought it would be a good time to practice his flute for the evening. And he put the flute to his lips and blew, when, the flute did not sound good. It was broken, it was cracked. There was no time to fix it. What am I going to do? And after a moment of thinking and panicking, the flute player put the flute back in his bag and searched around the woods, around the clearing, for something to make a new flute from. A clump of reeds. Perfect. He cut down a really thick reed from the centre of the clump, and there he fashioned a new flute. And after some time, it was the finest flute he'd ever made. I shall play the flute and see how it sounds. Put the flute to his lips, took a deep breath, and no, It shall be the king who hears this for the very first time. And I must go, for time is passing, and the party will begin, and I am needed to play. And off he went to the palace and made it just in time. There was the king on his throne. Everybody was there. Everyone was invited. The windows were open. It was summer. The breeze was blowing. Oh, what a wonderful evening it would be. And soon, after clapping his hands 3 times, all went quiet, and the king asked for music to be played. Out stepped the flute player. Standing next to the throne, he put the flute to his lips. He took a deep breath, and instead of music coming out, something else came out. Yes, instead of music, from out of the flute came, "The king's got horse's ears, It echoed through the land, and anyone who wasn't there in the room heard it, for the breeze took it across the land and beyond the borders of the kingdom." Now, everybody looked at the king. Everybody could see his discomfort. Everybody knew that everybody knows that who was the only other person in the whole wide world apart from him who knew the secret? The hairdresser! "Bring me the hairdresser!" roared the king, and the hairdresser was brought in and put on his knees, and the king demanded, "Why have you told my secret?" And the hairdresser protested and said, I hadn't told a soul. I went to the doctor, and he went through the advice of the doctor and how he had gone into the woods. Yes, I was there," said the flute player, in a clearing. "Yes, that was the place." I dug a hole and explained about the secret, and the flute player said, "Well, the secret must have turned into that reed, and now the secret is the flute, and your majesty, it's not the hairdresser's fault," said the flute player. And the king took on these words and realized that they were true. It was not the hairdresser's fault. It was his fault. He was the one who had shown the ears to the hairdresser. They were his secret. He had chosen to keep them secret. It was his fault. And he knew there was one thing he had to do. And the king stood and did the bravest thing that he possibly could in that situation. Yes. Took off the crown. He undid the red silk scarf. And out came the ears for everyone to see. There was laughter, there was giggling, there was shocked silence. But after some time, people got used to them. And after many days, people even ignored them. They were normal. And the king realized, after many days, that why have I been keeping these ears a secret for so long? After all, a secret's only a secret if it's kept. And by sharing a secret, it's shared to everyone. And thinking about everyone, and thinking about you, don't ever be ashamed of yourself, or if there's anything different about you, like the king with his horse's ears. After all, think about it. You are the only one of you in the whole wide world. The end.